surroundings of Anglesey Circuit in North Wales play host of a third meeting of the season for the 2019 Avon Tyres National Formula 4 Championship. So far this season, 2 weekends in, we've had 5 different race winners in what's been a fantastic start to the season, showing just how competitive Formula Ford racing still is for young drivers making a career in the sport. Just how competitive? Well, let's show you a recap of the first couple of rounds to give you an idea of who the main contenders really are. The opening weekend saw sunny skies and blazing hot sunshine as the Snetterton Circuit in Norfolk saw the early suitors battle it out for early supremacy. James Clark was involved in an early scrap with Team Dolan's Ross Martin, with the former Scottish champion getting the best of the Cliff Dempsey racing driver in the early stages. Clark's teammate Spike Colbecker edged him wide at turn 1 before he went on to take second place, as Rory Smith was the one that took the first victory and first blood in 2019 on his BM Racing Medina chassis. Race 2 was more attrition filled as drivers such as Nicole Woods found the limits and caused a red flag, seeing the first stoppage of the season. When racing did get back underway, the likes of Neil McLennan, Ross Martin and eventual race winner Spike Colbecker from America battling it out for the victory. Spike's been a sensation in his first year at racing in the UK after racing in New Zealand and Canada, and Lindsay caught up with him just before race 1 to see how he prepares.
Spike, we're just going quickly through, and you are one of our 5 winners that we've had so far this season. Obviously, you're in a good starting position today, and we've just quickly seen you mentally go through the track in your head there. Can you quickly talk about your plans ahead?
Yeah, well, it's definitely going to be a difficult task. No task is really easy in sports racing, especially at this level. Cars are all even, but you really just got to hit your marks, make no mistakes, no lockups or anything like that, and it's really about who gets to drive off the corners better and just be smart and find the rubber around the outside of the track.
So you're feeling confident going in today now that the track's drying up slightly?
Yeah, I mean, I felt pretty confident going in the qualifying and put it on pole just barely. But coming in, it's still going to be a wet track. I mean, there's no doubt about it. There's not enough time to drive the whole track, so it's still going to be a wet race.
Brilliant. Well, we wish you the best of luck, Spike.
Thank you.
Race 3 saw a reverse grid with Max Maserati leading in the early stages, but Neil McLennan was quick to overhaul him at the complex to take the lead. And despite coming under immense pressure from fellow Scotsman Ross Martin all throughout the race, McLennan was able to keep his cool and show his experience in Formula Ford to take the victory. McLennan's been a front-running contender in the last couple of seasons and will hope that this year is the year he can finally capture the title. So Lindsay also caught up with him in the assembly area to find out how he's approaching the Anglesey weekend.
Thanks indeed, Scott. Yes, I'm down here in assembly area right before race 1 is about to get underway, and in fact I'm going to have a quick catch up with Neil McLennan, which is one of the 5 winners that we've had so far. So Neil, how are you expecting this weekend to go?
Hopefully it'll go okay. We were quick yesterday and the day before. We've been testing for 2 days, so it's gone alright so far. Qualifying was a bit of a pain. We were in the lead up and towards the end, I think, and then dropped the front left wheel in the grass, so lost a bit of time. So starting third, see how that goes, but hopefully it'll be fine. The rain's going to suit us better than the dry release, so it should be fine.
The opening race at Alton Park saw pole sitter James Clark barely head to turn 1 as he understeered wide at the start and straight into the tyre barriers. James thankfully was physically okay, although with a little bit of dented pride in the process. As he headed back to the paddock, his Cliff Dempsey Racing teammate Jonathan Brown went on to take his first National Formula 4 victory and make it 4 winners from 4 races. And then it became 5 out of 5 when Ross Martin was able to escape an early incident between Spike Colbecker and Neil McLennan to cross the line and take the checkered flag. Lindsay also caught up with him in the holding area before race 1.
Ross, so you're one of our 5 winners we've currently had this season. Have you got any plans for hopefully making it back on the top step today?
Yeah, I'd like to get a good start off the line. It's always tricky in these conditions, but a good clean race would be good. Hopefully on our podium now. You know, I'd be like to get a win here, but it's not the be all and end all. It's all about keeping the car on the track and getting those points home for the championship.
So how are you feeling? Obviously with the track, it was really wet this morning. It's now starting to dry up. What kind of setup have you got planned?
Yeah, you can see here it's slightly drying, so hopefully a kind of mid to dry setup almost. You know, the track could be potentially dry by the end of the race, so we don't want to compensate too much at the start of the race because it's going to be a long old finish. But yeah, 15 minutes, it's going to be hard, but I'll try to keep my nose clean and get the car home safe.
Well, we will see you at the other end, my friend. Best of luck.
Thank you, cheers.
So the contenders are ready, and hopefully you're ready for 3 exciting races of the weekend, here at Anglesey in North Wales. Here's the grid for race 1 with Spike Colbecker taking pole position, Ross Martin lining up alongside him on the front row. The Neil McLennan and Rory Smith. A cracking qualifying from Brendan Lee puts him 5th ahead of the MacArthur brothers David and Tom, and Jamie Sharp lining up in 8th. Jamie Thorburn makes a welcome return in 9th. He starts on row 5 alongside James Clark, then Morgan Quinn and Michael McPherson, Adam Quartermain and Aaron Jeanson, Scott Huntley and John Svensson, with Pascal Monbowen and Nicole Woods rounding out the 18-car grid for this first encounter of the weekend at Anglesey. So the weather conditions are slightly adverse, very overcast and grey skies, and there's been some rain this morning in qualifying, which means that car settability has been an absolute nightmare. So could be a bit of a venture into the unknown. Let's see how the guys handle it here. As the red lights come on, they go out, and racing gets underway for race 1 here at Anglesey, and it's a lightning start for this man, Neil McLennan, shooting the gap through the middle of Spike Colbecker and Ross Martin, and he gets the whole shot into turn 1. We're on board with Colbecker as Ross Martin goes down the outside for second place, getting very sideways on the exit. You can tell that even in these slightly intermediate conditions, just how tricky it is for these Formula Fords, as Colbecker on the inside of the banking loses another place in the process. That's Rory Smith squirming up the inside for 3rd place. However, Colbecker is fighting back on the inside line on the sprint towards the right-hander at Church. There's another move just behind. That's Tom MacArthur in the white and orange machine, just ahead of Brendan Lee now in the Kevin Mills Spectrum. Onto the back straight now, up towards the complex at Rocket at the top of the hill. McLennan leads with fellow Scotsman Ross Martin in close pursuit. Now with Spike Colbecker looking to the outside line on the braking zone towards Rocket. They head to the top of the crest, little sideways for Colbecker and also for Tom MacArthur as everyone tries to find grip around the outside line. There is Aaron Jeanson, number 24, and he's watching ahead of these men. This is one of them, James Clark, and he's now battling just behind Morgan Quinn and Jamie Thorburn. Jamie there in the dark blue and white car. He's not with Cliff Dempsey like he has been the last couple of seasons. He's with his own team, Border Reavers Racing, and he's a very welcome return to the championship after taking some time off to focus on his exams. Now the car's heading out through the end of the hairpin at the corkscrew. Instead of turning right onto the coastal circuit back to the pits, they then go left through the hairpin, up down the Tom Price straight and into the hairpin for the first time. And this is going to be very tricky with slightly patchy conditions here as they head under brakes. See there Brendan Lee heading up the inside of David MacArthur, now back into a MacArthur sandwich, as David's brother Tom is now just ahead of him after making that move at Church Corner just a few minutes ago. You can see little trails of spray there in the background, so it's not quite dry. There's still some wet patches around, and Ross Martin trying to find the grip on the outside line, or the karting line as it's known, to make a move here for McLennan, but the top two have broken away initially. We're back on board with James Clark here. He's now going to be the next person to have a crack at David MacArthur. Looking up the inside into turn 1. He shouldn't really be on the inside line because that's where the rubber is, where you get less grip in wet conditions, but he has squeezed his way through. Meanwhile, at the front, Ross Martin tries to put himself alongside with a better exit from the banking to tuck underneath the gearbox and looks to the inside line. But McLennan shuts the door, and I think he realises that he'll have better grip around the outside, which he does. And also watch for Rory Smith in the red Medina chassis for BM Racing in 3rd place. He's broken away from Spike Colbecker and now is quickly onto the tail of the top two as they head through the school curve and up towards the Rocket Complex. Here's the view from Spike Colbecker. In the distance is the top three scrapping amongst themselves as McLennan holds the lead. And now as they gather themselves back up again into the second part of the Rocket Complex. Again, McLennan taking a slightly wider line, which is preferred in wet conditions. You stay off the racing line where all the rubber is. Rory Smith, meanwhile, is looking pretty racy in second place, trying to steal that position away from Ross Martin. In fact, Martin runs wide, and as a result of that, Smith takes full advantage and steals up the inside line. There's Brendan Lee on board with him. First chance we've got for his onboard exploits. Double F1 Esports champion. The Anglesey for the first time this weekend as he heads into the corkscrew hairpin for the first time, and he gets very sideways, and there's contact! And it's been with Tom MacArthur. Tom moves the cones out of the way as he exits stage right and joins the circuit once again. Brendan Lee, whether he's got it going again or not, we'll have to wait and see as the leaders come out of the hairpin for the second time. Change confirmed for second as we saw. Rory Smith is up into second place. Spike Colbecker watches on, now trying to keep pace with the cars battling just in front of him as Martin goes back up the inside now for second, but he has to stop back into place. Up through the bus stop for the second time. Let's see what Martin's got, but there are hands out of the cockpit, and that can only mean one thing. The safety car's been deployed and the field has been neutralised, possibly for Brendan Lee's incident there. Line of board with Neil McLennan as he heads to the field, and look at that, very sideways action. Whoa, look at that. I've never seen aggressive tyre warming like that before from Neil McLennan, but in these slightly damp conditions where temperatures are cooler, it's that more difficult. Now there's the reason Brendan Lee has actually been collected by Jamie Sharp in the black and red car. Both are fine, they're just getting out of the cars, and I'm sure we'll go to the medical centre for a pure checkup and nothing else. But it does appear as though after the contact with Tom MacArthur, Brendan Lee's Kevin Mills Spectrum was stranded in the middle of the road, and as a result of that, it left a rather hapless Jamie Sharp, I'm sure, with nowhere to go, and collecting Brendan Lee. That puts both out on the spot. There's Tom MacArthur with his new aero appendage. I'm sure he's back to the pits to get the BM Racing squad to remove the 2 cones he's collected. That won't be doing him too much. He won't make him go any faster, that's for sure. As the field bunch up behind the Mini Cooper safety car. Everyone, of course, again weaving from side to side, just for anyone who's unsure. That means that they're doing so to keep up the heat and pressures in the tyres and the brakes to make sure they're at optimum performance, so that when racing gets back underway, they're not going to get the surprise of hitting the brake pedal and the tyres locking up, or turning the wheel and finding the car either understeering or oversteering wide, which in these damp conditions can be much more tricky than when you find it in dry and wet conditions instead. So it gives us a chance now to take a bit of a breather after what's been a rather frantic opening couple of laps. There's Morgan Quinn. He's one of the Team Dolan drivers this season, making his debut in Formula Fords in the National Championship. He's been a former Ginetta Junior racer, has done quite a bit of racing in Ireland, but good to see him taking the step into National Formula Fords. And just behind him there is the first of the 2 MacArthurs. Of course, Tom has gone into the pit lane after being collected by Brendan Lee, but David MacArthur, he and Tom are also competing in the Northern Formula Ford Championship, which is contesting its next rounds here this weekend, and he and Tom have been the dominant forces so far, and they've been looking to take a victory each at this point today. And Tom will feel it should have been 2, but he just made a bit of a mistake on the final corner on the last lap of race 1, put him wide, and that allowed David to go through. Tom was able to put that one right later on and go ahead and make it a MacArthur victory each for both of the brothers. Now thankfully both cars have been cleared away pretty quickly, and you can see also the sun starting to come out here, which you see a rather nice picturesque view in the background of the Irish Sea sparkling away in the sunshine. It's a rather unique picturesque location, of course, in his Anglesey circuit. Of course, it's on its own Isle of Anglesey, and it's right located on the coast, right at the tip of the North Wales island. Onto this very high-speed section in the School Kink, and looking up the inside for second place goes Ross Martin. Almost puts 2 wheels onto the grass and tries to put himself on the outside line. Now if he can stay on the outside, he'll put him on the inside for the second part of Rocket, but Martin thought discretion was the better part of valour, just backs out of the move and stays in 3rd place. But what it now does is it brings Spike Colbecker into play in 4th position to get a possible podium here, as now Rory Smith is starting to put the pressure on Neil McLennan this time, and McLennan goes too deep into the right-hander up at the top of Peel Corner, straight into Willie goes Rory Smith. Now can McLennan get him back as we ride on board with the Scotsman down towards the corkscrew? He looks to the outside line, they always bang wheels, but they do bang wheels, and there's more contact. Off the road goes Neil McLennan. Is there damage to the 25 car? I'm not sure. Let's see if Rory Smith can continue either, but Neil McLennan will be absolutely livid at that. Back with the leaders, see the rain light on the back of Ross Martin's car shining away. Spike Colbecker continues to pursue him in 2nd place. Head up towards Church Corner now. Again, just wider away from the apex as they both let the cars drift out wide over the curb. Back with our scrap between Quinn, Jeanson and Quartermain. Still no change in the order between these 3. They now head towards the right-hander at Church, where we've just seen the leaders turn through. And still, Morgan Quinn is in that position, but Aaron Jeanson lining him up here for a move. Try and put himself alongside through School Quarter, which he has. A good exit off the right-hander, sprinting on towards the top of the hill at Rocket Complex, and Jeanson with a fantastic pass gets his nose in front and into the position before he's even hit the brakes. So Aaron Jeanson was a former Team USA scholarship racer. He's one of the 2 drivers that come over every year, usually every October for the Formula Ford Festival, and then a couple of weeks later for the Walter Hayes Trophy. He usually gets some slightly adverse conditions in typical British weather. Getting a typical Formula Ford attack here as Morgan Quinn tries to respond after losing that place. As we head on to the last lap here in this opening round of the weekend here at Anglesey in the National Formula Fords, and again both Martin and Colbecker feel they have to go deep on the exit of the hairpin on the Grand Prix loop to try and hold to this position. But on the sprint down towards the final corner, Spike Colbecker has put him under immense pressure, but Ross Martin is going to do something which nobody else has done. He's going to win a race for the 2nd time this season. Colbecker will try and sprint towards the line, but it's not going to work. They get one more time around now as they go into the left-hander for the last time into turn 1. One more chance now for Colbecker to try and make it through as they head up towards the hairpin. And still, Martin will not give way. Colbecker again taking that tighter, that more wider entry into the corner and a tighter exit off to try and get a better slingshot up towards Church Corner, and he is in the slipstream. So we can put Martin under pressure here. Martin's been in this position so many times, not just in the National Championship, but also as a former Scottish champion as well. He was fairly dominant in that a couple of years ago, but of course now joining Team Dolan, the reigning champions for the last couple of years. Really is making the most of that 1999 Van Diemen chassis. Just had a quick glimpse there of James Clark in third place as the leaders head through Rocket for the final time. James Clark is there, looking up the inside for second place, despite Cobber can see himself demoted as the two Cliff Dempsey cars go into combat. That's the last thing they want for each other, as they now go and let Ross Martin escape up the road, back on board with James Clark. I think possibly Cliff Dempsey probably shouting on the pit wall, saying, leave each other alone, just come home in second and third and grab the points. Because the harder they fight each other, the easier it is now for Ross Marston in the closing stages here, in the final few corners of the last lap of the race, to break away and seal this victory once and for all. Into the hairpin for the final time come the leaders, and Ross Martin has pretty much held off every single attack, everything that Spike Colbecker and co can throw at him. And after an early incident with Neil McLennan and Rory Smith put them out of contention, he and Colbecker were the main benefactors. Both James Clark and Rory Smith have closed in. It's going to be a very close top four. But as we mentioned, Ross Martin does something which nobody else has done so far this year. He comes to the checkered flag and picks up his second National Formula Ford win of the season, his first of the weekend at Anglesey. Spike Colbecker picks up a very strong second place, and James Clark grabs third with Rory Smith in fourth position. Confirmation of the results with David MacArthur picking up the final spot in the top five. Jamie Thorburn in a brilliant sixth on his welcome return. Then Michael McPherson seventh, Aaron Jeanson eighth, Morgan Quinn ninth, and Adam Quartermain in 10th. Neil McLennan, after the contact with Rory Smith, does recover back to 11th, ahead of Huntley, Svensson, Monbaron and Woods, with MacArthur, Lee and Sharp, your three retirements. A very breathtaking first race indeed.
Spike, that looked like really tough conditions out there, and then obviously the safety car. Could you quickly talk through what happened?
Yeah, at the beginning, it looked like it was going to be a wet race, and we converted to a dry setup. At the beginning, we struggled a little bit for traction, just trying to get down to the curbs. But later later at the end of the race, it just started to dry up, and it helped us out a lot. But I mean, if it was a little bit drier, our setup would have been a little bit better. But there's nothing much we can do about it. You can't have someone constantly changing it like an Indy car. But it's a good finish, but it's unlucky we finished second. Tomorrow we're going to need to win a few.
James, congratulations, third position. Can you quickly talk me through what was going through your mind in that race? Obviously coming back from Alton, where you had a bit of a stumble into a tyre wall.
But to be honest, it wasn't so much because of the crash. It was more because we'd not finished the first races of the first two rounds. I was kind of just not just going for a finish, but like I didn't want to play it too risky. And obviously those conditions are not the best for not playing it risky. So, and especially qualifying in the pack. So yeah, to start with, I just tried to keep it on the island because people were going off all over the place. So I made about 4 places by staying on the track. And then once the track dried up and the conditions are a bit more favourable, I could then start to press on and take a few more, I guess, like necessary risks.
Race 2 is about to get underway here for the National Formula Ford, and the weather conditions are completely different from yesterday. The sun is shining and the track is starting to heat up. Now we've got Ross Martin leading the pack, which is the only man so far to be able to win 2 races this season. So Ross, with the weather conditions being completely different from yesterday, do you feel like you're going to have to relearn the track all over?
I mean, we had dry conditions on Friday for testing, so I feel pretty comfortable going into the race. You know, I had good dry pace, so getting off the line is going to be key. Getting a good start, good first lap, obviously, but it's nice to have some blue skies. You know, I had a good night last night, I chilled out. I'm feeling pretty comfortable for today, so I'm really looking forward to it.
Brilliant. Well, we wish you the best of luck, Ross, and hopefully a third win. So, can you do it? We're going to hand it over to Scott to find out.
Thanks, Lindsay. And as you can see, the conditions are substantially better than they were yesterday. Hopefully the racing will be even better. Ross Marston and Spike Colbeck on the front row of the grid as a virtue of their top 2 from yesterday. Then it's James Clark and Rory Smith, with David MacArthur and Jamie Thorburn on row 3, Michael McPherson, Aaron Jeanson, Morgan Quinn and Adam Quartermain completing the top 10. Neil McLennan's one to watch from 11th place on the grid, alongside Scott Huntley in 12th. Then John Svensson, Pascal Monbaron and Nicole Woods, with Tom MacArthur, Brendan Lee and Jamie Sharp all starting at the back of the grid, and also 3 drivers to see come through the order after their retirements from yesterday's first race. So a very competitive and slightly jumbled up grid, with Ross Marston in pole position with our onboard cameras. with McPherson, McLaren, and also this man, Spike Colbecker. What does race 2 have in store? Let's find out as the lights go out and we go racing and are ready. Off the line, it seems as though Ross Martin's got the whole shot towards turn 1, covering off the outside line for Spike Colbecker in second place. We're on board with Neil McLaren. He's fighting for traction on this dry track. Just behind Adam Quartermain to try and make a move early doors, which he does. Storming down the outside line to take what is now 10th position. So not hanging around, already 2 corners in and up 1 place. Out of the banking, up towards Church Corner for the first time. And now the next target for Neil McLaren is going to be Aaron Jeanson, then Morgan Quinn in front of him. Here's Neil McLaren, and that was fairly straightforward. Morgan Quinn goes wide on the exit of Church Corner and drops a place. Also Michael McPherson, the Kevin Mills Racing teammate for Neil McLaren, also goes off the line. James Clark now battling for 3rd place just behind Rory Smith as they pile into the complex at Rocket for the first time. There with the 2 Kevin Mills cars, bit of a lock-up behind, looks like, for Pascal Montbaron, who is in sandwiching between Tom MacArthur in front of him, and just ahead of him is his teammate John Svensson, the former Renault Euro Cup racer, and he's in combat with the young former Ginetta Junior racer Morgan Quinn. That was a pretty straightforward move up the inside line as a place gained there for Svensson. He's one of the few Clubman drivers in the field. Now the fact we've got a bone dry track means that instead of tippy-toeing and squirming around for traction, a completely dry circuit means these guys can really hammer hard on these Formula Fords and show exactly how quick they can go in what is still one of the most picturesque circuits in the country. Already in these first few corners, it's been a very fast and frenetic start. Out of the hairpin, down onto the second part of the International Grand Prix loop. And there, Ross Martin holds the lead. Colbecker in second place, then Rory Smith third, then Clark, Thorburn, David MacArthur. Aaron Jeanson has now had a good start up to around 8th position. And holding on to 9th, it seems, appears to be Neil McLaren, so up a few spots already after starting 11th. There we see Adam Quartermain under threat from a few of the cars behind, including John Svensson. We ride on board with James Clark now into the banking for the second time. Very tight 180-degree hairpin, making a move for 5th position. That's up the inside going David MacArthur. And that was at the expense of Jamie Thorburn, who immediately tries to retaliate on the exit now through the right-hander at Church Corner. But I think MacArthur's got the pace he needs. And also, look at the back of the train. Just ahead of Neil McLaren now is Aaron Jeanson, but the pair of them are straight on the tail of this ongoing battle now for 5th position. See what McLaren can do here on the straight towards the Rocket Complex. Tries to look one way then the other, but there's no room through at this point in time. McLaren thinks, well, if you're going to hold the inside line, I'll go straight round the outside then. And through he goes. Up another place into the second part of the Rocket Complex and now into 7th position. So Neil McLaren in the opening lap and a half, wasting no time whatsoever to make up what was a bit of a nosedive. And just here at the corner he's coming up to, at the corkscrew, it was contact with Rory Smith that put him down the order and saw him finishing back in 11th place, hence his starting position for this second race just now. So McLaren just behind his fellow Scotsman Jamie Thorburn, who I'm sure is a little bit more focused on trying to reclaim 5th position back from David MacArthur. It's not McLaren having a look up the inside. And this now puts Jamie Thorburn into a little bit of a catch-22 situation. He now has to try and focus with one eye in front of him to try and attack MacArthur, but one eye behind trying to defend from Neil McLaren. He's going straight down the outside line as Thorburn has to go defensive. Almost had a sneak up the inside at MacArthur at the result of that. And now McLaren is going to try and close back in as they go through turn 1 once more. Just watching the back end of Thorburns car wiggle around trying to find traction, and down to the banking straight up the inside once again. Another strong move there and decisive move from Neil McLaren. He's now up to 6th position. So his next move is going to be on David MacArthur, unless Jamie Thorburns got anything to say about that, because that's the second time in that corner that Thorburn has lost a place. He won't be too pleased with himself at that one. He's going to come under threat very shortly if he's not careful from both Aaron Jeanson and just behind them Michael McPherson. Into the ongoing fight for 3rd as Ross Martin continues to lead and pull away from Spike Colbecker in the process. The scrap for 3rd maybe holding each other up. This is James Clark in the 77. Just behind him is the Stetson race winner Rory Smith. There is James. Trying to redeem himself this weekend after a slightly embarrassing start to the Alton Park weekend. Took pole position, and as you saw earlier on, he didn't get as far as turn 1 because he went straight off into the tyre barrier, understeering wide, and sadly his chance of getting a victory went up in smoke and were over there and then. But a 3rd place yesterday in race 1 certainly was a good start to the weekend. We'll be looking for another rostrum place. And now Neil McLaren also possibly thinking about a podium as he dives up the inside and makes light work of David MacArthur, and now he moves up into 5th position. Starts to try and drift away from him as he starts to charge onto the back of Jamie Thorburn. Slightly wider entry for Thorburn, just a couple of cars ahead. Jeanson tries to follow suit. This onboard shot gives you a great chance to see just how much these guys work away at the wheel. So further back in the order, this is the scrap between John Svensson, number 35, and then Brendan Lee. Just behind him was his fellow incident mate, shall we say, Jamie Sharp. And they're in close proximity, nose to tail, and they're following the very experienced Belgian John Svensson. Up through School Curve and on the sprint towards the Rocket Complex. Now, are either of them going to make a move, or Sharp's looking to the outside line, whilst Brendan Lee tries to sneak up the inside, but Jamie Sharp's trying to force the move here, trying to prise the door open and find a gap on the inside of the second part of Rocket, but there's nothing doing. He has to sit back and try and find another place to try and make a move on Brendan Lee. And Brendan Lee, as we say, has adapted very, very quickly to Formula Ford and circuit racing as a whole. Of course, currently signed with Mercedes in the New Balance F1 Esports Championship. I'm sure he'll be looking for a third campaign and a third title in 2019, but right now his main concern is trying to get past John Svensson. He's lined him up on the run towards the hairpin, and a very impressive move, diving up the inside, forcing John Svensson to outbrake himself. Not only has Brendan Lee got through, but at the expense of John Svensson, also Jamie Sharp has taken full advantage of the mistake from the Belgian, and up another place goes the former British F4 racer. So up towards the bus stop for the end of another lap, and Jamie Sharp, no doubt, will try and follow in the wheel tracks of Brendan Lee to try and make up some more places through the order. Back just a few cars ahead with Michael McPherson. Still hasn't found a way past Aaron Jeanson, and we might try up the inside here into the banking. Still, Jeanson parks that old Ford Motorsport Van Diemen right in the middle of the road and denies McPherson any chance to get through. Further back here. It's quite impressive that Brendan Lee, of course, before this season had never driven or raced anything competitively. He'd only really done something at the Race of Champions and impressed there as one of the drivers in the esports team. Of course, and whilst he's trying to fend off Jamie Sharp, his teammate Michael McPherson finally has found a gap on the inside into the braking zone at Rocket, and through he goes to make up another place. So that's at the expense of McPherson, and climbs another place high in the top 10. And also just behind him, look, that is Tom MacArthur in the white and orange car, number 17. And he's made some great progress in the back of the field. He started back in 16th position, and he's now just on the base of the top 10, so he's working hard to try and make up a few more places. Remember, the race 3 will be a random grid draw that reverses the top 6, 7 or 8 cars, depending on which number is drawn. So if Tom MacArthur can get himself in one of those 3 positions, potentially he could find himself in the plum seat to benefit from a reverse grid draw and put himself onto pole position. To do that, he may have to try and pick up a few more cars, the first of which is going to be, by the looks of things, Aaron Jeanson, number 24. Oh, that's Adam Quartermain. He's parked that car rather succinctly on the inside of the bus stop. Just trying to trudge away and looking a little bit embarrassed himself. I'm not sure if he had a spin or some contact. There is Adam Quartermain on the left. As, he looks on as the rest of the field goes tearing through. So the problem was for Adam Quartermain. We understand it was simply just a spin which caused him to stall the car. So whether he can try and get going again, or that's his race done and dusted, we'll wait and see in the final classification. That was Michael McPherson. We now look towards the 2 Cliff Dempsey cars, and they're now going to combat for what is now second place. Ross Martin has sailed up the road in the lead. Now up the inside, diving for second place, goes James Clark onto the apex of the first part of Rocket. Goes a little deep, but he'll have the inside line for the second part. And that now denies Cole Becker a chance to get through, or does it? Because he'll try and get the traction on the exit to pull alongside his teammate on the sprint towards Peel. But again, Clark sweeps across and tries to hold the line. And Cole Becker has to slot back in behind his teammate, and he's down to third. Back into the corkscrew once again. I thought about another move, did Cole Becker, trying to look up the inside line. James Clark looking pretty good, and not too far up the road ahead in the lead is Ross Martin. So there is a chance to possibly try and catch him. If James Clark feels he's quick enough, I can start to drag Cole Becker with him as Cole Becker backs the rear end of the car into the hairpin at the top of the straight. You can tell how hard these guys are pushing. A little bit more brake bias on the rear as they squirm around trying to get them stopped. Ross Martin just flashing through shots at the bottom of the screen there, still in the lead by a handful of seconds as the scrap for second continues on. I'm sure it's great to see the 2 Cliff Dempsey cars in second and third, but once again I'm sure Cliff Dempsey will be a little bit nervous watching these 2 drivers fight fairly but also pretty closely to each other, so hoping they don't make contact. That's the worst thing you want to do in motorsport, which is make contact and take out your teammate. Little slide up through the middle of the corner there for James Clark. Didn't get the power down as smoothly as he wanted to. That might give Cole Becker a chance to retaliate throughout the rest of the lap. Nice clean run through Church Corner, and now the sprint on the back straight. This slightly long curving right-hander of School Curve On the sprint again towards the Rocket Complex, seeing the pass a lap ago. Is Colbeck going to try and get him back with a dive up the inside? Not quite, but a big lock up from Clark will certainly help his chances. And again, just tucks in, holds the exact same racing line, trying to force the mistake again from James Clark as he holds on to second place. Two Cliff Dempsey cars putting on something of a racing demonstration here, nose to tail through the right-hander at Peel. Of course, remember, the harder these two continue to battle, the more of an advantage that Ross Martin will pull out in the lead. There he is in the distance up the top of the screen in the white Van Diemen, already at the hairpin, as the two Cliff Dempsey cars reach half distance under brakes, and again backing in the rear end. Both cars locking up, a lock up with the front from Clark and the rear end squirming around for Colbecker, so you can't blame them both for trying. Some great inter-team rivalry here between the two of them. Of course, Colbecker's had a race win so far this year, Clark hasn't. I'm sure that trying to find the dominant one of the three cars in the field will certainly be a story throughout the year. It's a very sideways James Clark maintains second place. Here's Michael McPherson. He's now lost the place to Tom McCarthy, who has got past Brendan Lee as well. Look at Brendan Lee up the inside of his teammate, trying to steal the position away from Michael McPherson. Might get a go in off the corner as they run side by side. Kevin Mills having heart palpitations now watching this one, as up the inside goes Brendan Lee, and also going with him, Michael McPherson's left the door wide open, and straight up the inside goes Jamie Sharp, saying thank you very much, I'll follow my mate up the inside if you don't mind. Into the banking they go, and if Michael McPherson's not careful, he might lose yet another place, because look at Jamie Thorburn behind. Aaron Jeanson in the black Oldfield Motorsport Van Diemen's not too far away either, as they head to the church. We are in the closing stages of the race within the last few laps, so any chance to make a move here has to be made now or never. Looking down the outside line to try and retaliate is Michael McPherson. He might try and make a dive into the complex once again. Here he comes under braking, getting anchored up into the top of the hill. And of course, the crest will certainly help with slowing the cars down as they pitch it into the first part of Rocket. It's a bit of a tricky switchback section. Then this slightly curving, slightly uphill right-hander at Peel brings them back towards the international part of the circuit. McPherson staring at the gearbox of Jamie Sharp, who has a big lock up on the inside front as he turns his way through the corkscrew, but he's all the curve on the exit to maintain the position. Now once again the sprint towards the hairpin once more. Not as banked as the banking, but certainly quite a tight way to get through the corner as Tom MacArthur makes a mistake, goes deep into the right-hander and just about holds the line and gets in front. Now Tom MacArthur currently holds 6th position, so he's in one of the 3 key places to potentially benefit from a reverse grid draw. As we see now, Ross Martin in fairly dominant fashion here. He's been pretty much untouched this entire race since he got a great start from pole position. Now he'll be looking to make it a 3rd win of the season, but of course he has to get to the flag first. And whilst he does go on to possibly take victory, these two are not finished by any stretch of the margin because they're still battling for 2nd place. Ross Martin brings his way into the complex at Rocket. And this nice 9 Van Diemen certainly seems to be quite a lucky car for somebody, because whenever anyone jumps into it, usually they will win a race in it. Of course, Niall Murray's won 2 championships in that car. James Murray Jr.'s won races before when he campaigned it in 2017, then Niall Murray got it back in 2018. At the end of the season, Jamie Sharp was in that car and did very well. Of course, Ross Martin now has won racing, so that's a pretty special chassis. A lot of experience and a lot of race winning and championship winning pedigree. Ross Martin seems to be about to add to that even further as he turns into the hairpin. Up towards the bus stop once more. And really the Cliff Dempsey guys have got to try and go back to the drawing board and try and find something to stop this dominance as he heads down towards the bus stop. Looks as though he is on course for victory. Turns his way through with left-hander onto the pit straight, up towards the checkered flag, and it is 2 wins out of 2 so far this weekend for Ross Martin in fairly dominant fashion than it was last time, as the 2 Cliff Dempsey cars almost go photo finish together in 2nd and 3rd. And also distant back in 4th place is going to be the rest of the field. Here's the confirmation of the result. Ross Martin wins from Clark in 2nd and Colbecker 3rd. Neil McLennan from 11th on the grid up to 4th place. What a drive that was. Then David and Tom MacArthur 5th and 6th. Rest of the order down to the bottom of the top 10. And then John Svensson, Morgan Quinn, Ron Barron, Huntley, Woods and Quartermain. And the reverse grid draw sees the top 6 reversed. That means Tom MacArthur will start on pole position.
Well, congratulations. You're starting to become the man of the moment this weekend.
Yeah,
another good race there, another win. But yeah, hats off to the team. You know, they done a late night last night. I think my mechanic was there till 11. So big hats off to Bernard and Damien for getting the car set up, because I think it showed. You know, I had a really good first lap, a good start off the line, which I've been working on, and it worked. And yeah, it was nice to have a comfortable lead into the first lap. And again, it was just about getting my head down. You know, I think my first 3 laps were a couple of tenths quicker than the rest of the field. So I wasn't actually getting lap times on my car, but I kind of had the team helping me out, and yeah, just focusing on that gap. And as the race went on, it just got bigger and bigger, really.
James, congratulations. You did start third, came second. You've got to be happy.
Yeah. It's sort of the most stable race I think we've had all year. But yeah, I mean, car was good. So I mean, the race chassis and you know, was working well, and everyone from Cliff Dempsey Racing's obviously done a great job, because me and Spike have been second and third in the first 2 races. We just need to get a little bit more pace so we can catch Ross. We'll see, because it's reverse grid for the next one.
Spike, you did start second, came third. Can you quickly talk me through what happened?
Yeah, just working on a few things on the car, but just an okay race. It could have been a little bit better. I got to hit my marks more, but we still got 1 more to go, and hopefully some better points for the next race.
Third and final race is about to get underway here, and with a reverse grid, it has put the MacArthur brothers on the top pole position. Now, Dave, how are you feeling? Obviously, you've got your brother right in front of you, but you're not really a stranger to being up here.
No, I'd like to think not, no.
So what's your plans for the race going forth? Is there going to be a gentleman's agreement between the two of you?
No, look at him, no gentleman, is he? No, definitely not. It's Formula Ford, you don't really think too much about it. You get your head down, you go as fast as you can for 15 minutes, and that's it really.
How are you feeling with the weather conditions today? It has been heating up slowly.
Yeah, well, we went quite well in the wet yesterday. I think we're a bit closer in the wet, so it's a brand new car this year, so still figuring it out a little bit. See how we go, made a couple more changes, see how we go.
Brilliant, well, we wish you the best of luck. Right, well, we're going to hand it over to the commentator to run you through all of the action.
Thanks, Lindsay. So, who is going to win the sibling rivalry drag race down towards turn 1 between Tom and David MacArthur? Well, Tom starts on pole with David alongside him. Then Neil McLennan crucially in third place ahead of Spike Colbecker on row 2. Then James Clark and double race winner Ross Martin ahead of Brendan Lee and Michael McPherson. Jamie Thorburn and Aaron Jeanson make up the top 10 ahead of John Svensson and Morgan Quinn, followed by Pascal Monbowen and Scott Huntley, Nicole Woods and Adam Quartermain. And the back row of the grid sees Jamie Sharp and Rory Smith, who retired from race 2 with mechanical problems. Again, another driver to watch, as he won't stay in the last spot on the grid. He will certainly charge his way up through the field. So there's the view looking down the grid as the cars are in position, ready for the start of the race. It is Tom MacArthur on pole with brother David alongside. They were in that position both times in the Northern Formula Ford races. Let's see if they can possibly lock out the front row on the run down towards turn 1, or if anyone behind can get a great run to try and snatch the whole shot into turn 1. Lights up for race number 3 of the weekend at Anglesey. Lights out, and it's a great start from pole from Tom MacArthur. A slightly sluggish getaway from David, though. And Neil McLennan, who tried to get up the inside of turn 1, immediately finds his way blocked. As diving up the inside of his teammate goes James Clark on Spike Colbecker. Spike holds on for 4th place on the sprint in towards the banking for the first time. But it is a MacArthur 1-2, but it's Tom ahead of David, followed by Neil McLennan in 3rd place. Then the Cliff Dempsey twins, with Spike Colbecker ahead of James Clark now in 4th and 5th position. Ross Martin remains 6th, Brendan Lee is 7th. Then it's Michael McPherson ahead of Aaron Jeanson, as already we see on board with Neil McLennan. He's now fighting for 2nd place, looking to the inside of school curve. A little bit of the outside line for the first part of Rocket, but if he can get himself in front, he can hit the braking zone cleanly before having to try and go around the outside. Under brakes into the complex, they're 2 by 2 behind the leader, side by side for 2nd and for 4th. Spike Colbecker fending off James Clark, looking around the outside line, but he finds his way blocked by David MacArthur, who's trying to recover after losing the 2nd place he just held off the line. As Tom MacArthur heads into the corkscrew for the first time, now under pursuit from Neil McLennan in 2nd place. He knows he has to get himself into the lead and try and make up as many places as he can and get himself as far ahead in the lead as possible if he can manage it, whilst the guys behind him are battling in the championship are scrapping all over each other into the banking. Through the hairpin, side by side for 3rd place, Spike Colbecker looks around the outside lines to take the final podium place as Neil McLennan starts to line up Tom MacArthur for a move up towards the bus stoppers. Behind him, it's 3 abreast. James Clark is on the grass on the inside of David MacArthur. Ross Martin looks to the outside, and Spike Colbecker sees them all off and says, "See you later, boys. I'll battle in 3rd place, and you've got to scrap amongst yourselves." Well, take a breath for a second. That was a very fast and frenetic first lap, and we've got such a long way to go in this 15-minute encounter. as McLennan trying to get out on the outside line of Tom MacArthur, but he parks the Van Diemen on the apex of the banking as they exit through the right-hander. And now the sprint towards Church Corner for the second time. We see Spike Colbecker there. I think he's waving to James Clark, saying, come on, go with me, let's catch Neil McLennan and try and get the guys in front to take the lead. Out of Church Corner on the sprint through the school curve and up towards the Rocket Complex again. The last of the late breakers at this rate, as here comes Ross Martin trying to dive up the outside, try and make a pass here. We see Tom MacArthur now about to lose the lead on the inside line for the first part of Rocket, and into the lead goes Neil McLennan with a very simple pass on the switchback. And now McLennan has completely cleared air now to try and pull away in the lead. And now Tom MacArthur's next task is to try and defend from the Cliff Dempsey twins behind him. We're seeing James Clark looking at the back of his teammate Spike Colbecker, staring at the gearbox, and the top four are pulled away already. There's a bit of a gap behind this. Micah McPherson out of the race with front damage, and that's Ross Martin walking across the shot. So Ross Martin and Micah McPherson have come to blows, and the championship leader and three-time race winner so far this season, his win streak is broken, and also that means he'll have to drop this round as a drop score. Well, drama at the complex. We didn't see it on camera, but it must have happened just as we were looking at the fight for the lead. And immediately, because the cars are stranded up at the complex, the yellow flags and safety car boards are out. Safety car has been deployed, and everyone slows up to a reduced pace. Arms out in the cockpit. What a frenetic start that was. And dramatically, Ross Martin, while he will come away with 2 first-place victories and 2 first-place trophies to boot, he will not make it the perfect hat-trick this weekend after the collision with Micah McPherson. We did see there was a little bit of a gap behind the top 4, wonder where the rest of the cars had gone, and that certainly was the answer to their whereabouts in that instance. There's the Mini Cooper safety car just at the bottom of shot, flashing through to pick up the race leader. There's Ross Martin's number 11 machine being just loaded off the back, even helping the marshals. Good effort, loading his own car onto the marshals, but fair play to him, just helping them out to give a bit of extra assistance and try and get the race back underway again. Safety car is now pulling into the pit lane, which means that Neil McLennan has to choose exactly wants to go. Still weaving side to side. We'll straighten up in a second. Back onto the racing lines to try and catch Tom MacArthur off guard. Not yet. He might try and do it through the final corner here. Takes a wide approach, and there he goes. He tried to catch him as much sleeping as possible as he could, but he couldn't quite do it. And across the line they go. Not long left in this third race after a lengthy safety car period. But now, with a big oversteer moment, James Clark is chasing after Spike Colbecker. Neil McLennan leads the field back into the banking on the first race, and that under race at the green flag conditions. And Tom MacArthur has actually gone with him on the restart. A good effort to keep with Neil McLennan. So Neil didn't get the biggest jump he wanted because Tom and the rest behind him were as alert as they could be. And the top 5 trying to break away already on this opening lap. Out of Church Corner on the restart, through school curve, the green flags fly around the circuit as everyone charges up towards the Rocket Complex. Now careful this time, boys. This is where the incident was before, and a big lock up for James Clark. He tries to get the car stopped and somehow anchors it up into the apex and avoids contact with Spike Colbecker. That will make Cliff Dempsey's heart stop for a second. Out of the complex at Rocket, there's Jamie Sharp, who's done very well actually to stay with them on the restart. He's on the gearbox of James Clark as they head up through PL Corner. It'll only be a handful of laps because we've gone quite deep into the race already thanks to that lengthy safety car period. It's only around about our 4th lap under racing conditions and not under a safety car. David MacArthur's fallen away a little bit in 6th position. Up to 7th place now is Robbie Smith at the expense of Brendan Lee. Another snatched break there for James Clark as they turn through the hairpin once more at racing speeds. And Neil McLennan on this restart hasn't pulled away like he wanted to because Tom MacArthur's shown that he has got pace, and local knowledge counts for a lot. Despite Colbecker trying to size him up for 3rd place, but up the inside line goes James Clark for 3rd place. Tries to catch his teammate napping, and he hasn't quite done it so far, I don't think. We'll have to wait and see. No, he hasn't. We're on board with James Clark. He has to sit back and look for another opportunity. But again, if these two teammates continue to scrap and squabble amongst each other, both McLennan and Tom MacArthur will start to pull away in front and gain a gap. So they have to either try and work together or be residing to 3rd place once they scrap amongst each other. Out of the banking, through Church once again at racing speeds. Top 4 nose to tail. They're starting to leave Jamie Sharp behind a little bit now. On the sprint through school curve, a tiny gap of about a car length now for Neil McLennan on the restart. As Tom MacArthur's off to come under pressure as the 2 Cliff Dempsey cars again go into combat. And this time James Clark does look up the inside line of his teammates. Colbecker may have to capitulate and forced to give up the position, but no. The young American using all his racecraft to full effect unless Clark can put himself alongside on the exit, which he can't. And again, this brings Jamie Sharp back into play in 5th position. One of his best performances of the season so far, since he jumped into single-seaters in the Formula Ford category, fresh out of British F4. Adapted pretty well, and really showing just how much progress he's made as one of the Team Dolan drivers. In fact, he's the highest placed Team Dolan driver in the field now. Of course, we've lost Ross Martin. Of course, behind them will be Morgan Quinn and Adam Quartermain. Adam Quartermain, of course, is part of the Clubman contingent, along with John Svensson and Pascal Monbaron. Now they're scrapping over honours, especially with Adam Quartermain wanted to redeem himself after retiring from race number 2. But it looks to me as if we've got John Svensson in the lead of Clubman classes. Up the inside again for 3rd place went James Clark. Now, has he made it stick this time? They're completely out of shot for the time being. I don't think he has. No, he hasn't. So for the second time into the bus stop corner, James Clark made a dive up the inside to try and make a pass on Spike Colbecker. And for twice in a row now, Colbecker's had enough momentum and the right line to hold off and hold the position in these closing stages. Now the sprint again towards Church Corner. Not long left in race, roughly up possibly the last couple of laps now. And the top 5 possibly could be a top 6 at the moment. Because look at Rory Smith in the background in 6th position. He's not too far away. He might benefit if anyone starts to hit strife here. Back as a rocket once again. Look at how much Tom MacArthur closes back up under braking. He is not letting Neil McLaren get away here. Like we said, local knowledge counts for a lot. Tom also has a Northern Formula Ford race victory to his name this weekend. He could have been 2, but he made a mistake at the final corner in race 1, which allowed David to get through after leading practically the entire way from pole position. And now as they come towards the corkscrew once again for what I believe should be possibly the final time, he has a last-ditch effort here to try and snatch away a National Formula Ford victory. As on the grass on the exit of the corkscrew goes Jamie Sharp, bounced back onto the road. He made his 5th position as a result because Rory Smith was putting him under attack into the hairpin. But Neil McLaren's there, and James Clark up the inside for 3rd place finally. So after 2 attempts at the bus stop, he gets done a lap early, but there's contact between the 2 teammates. Well, I'm not sure what they'll think about that in the pit lane afterwards, but down towards the bus stop for the final time. Neil McLaren will try and hold on as he comes up through the final corner. MacArthur's pressed him all the way, but it's going to be too late. Up towards the checkered flag, and it will be Neil McLaren who picks up his 2nd win of the season and wins race 3 here at Anglesey. What a drama-filled, action-packed race that was, with McLaren winning, Tom MacArthur 2nd, Jamie Clark taking 3rd on the final lap of the race after contact. Spike Colbecker 4th, then Smith, Sharp, Lee, MacArthur, Jensen, and then Svensson. Morgan, Quinn with Adam Quartermain, Monbaron, Huntley, and Woods the top 15. But Ross Martin, crucially, a non-score, and have to drop that later on in the season. Well done to our top 3. There is Neil McLaren heading onto the podium, and Lindsay is now with the top 3 on the roster, including race winner Neil McLaren.
Massive congratulations, 2nd win this year, but still puts you where you started this weekend in 3rd position in the standings, so you must be happy.
Yeah, no, thank you very much. It's kind of been an up and down weekend for me. We started good in the first race, but then got caught up in an incident, so ended up finishing 11th in the first one. So started 11th today in the second one, got up to 4th, which put us 3rd for the reverse grid. So no, it's kind of come to an end good. So we're really happy.
Tom, congratulations, 2nd place. You must be feeling overwhelmed.
Yeah, pretty happy with that. Wasn't expecting that after yesterday's race, so I'll take it for now.
Congratulations, another 3rd, so you must be happy.
Yeah. I mean, it's a good, solid weekend, so it's plenty of points for the championship, which is something it's that consistency that we've been trying to find. Yeah, it's a bit frustrating because I think we had the pace to probably challenge for the win, but obviously the safety car ran on. I mean, well, yeah, all the marshals and sort of recovery crews did a great job getting the cars back, but obviously we had so much pace that it was sort of stifled behind the safety car. But we did all we could, and the car was amazing. So yeah, again, just thanks everyone at Cliff Dempsey Racing, Neil Bold Engines, and Ray Cars, and I've got to get it all in because I forgot to in the first couple. But yeah, I mean, the whole package has been great. So to be disappointed with 2/3 and a 2nd is like, it shows that how good the package is.
Yeah.